Hello everyone, welcome to the bonus video, the first bonus video at least, for Let's Play Sonic 1. In this video, I'm going to be showcasing a whole assortment of stuff, which is not really that much considering that Sonic 1 doesn't have a lot of extra content at all, but the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the two codes that you can input in this game to get a couple of interesting things. The first one is the infamous level select code. And this code is basic. It is up, down, left, right, A plus start. And if you do it correctly, if you input up, down, left, right, and you hear a ring chime sound, you inputted the code correctly. And you will get this lovely thing right here, giving you a choice to go to any stage in the game. Any one. From the start. It's good. It works. I like it. It's good. The second code I inputted on the title screen, because you may have heard a second ring chime, surprising, is the debug code, which is going to be the main bulk, I say main bulk, but it's not actually going to be the main bulk. It's going to be the only live part of this episode. What is the debug code? The debug code is, well, the way I do it anyway, CC up, down, left, right. A plus start, hold A until Sonic appears on screen. Debug gives you lots of interesting things to do. If you want to do what I just did, where you get both level select and debug in one go, just input both codes so input the level select code first, but then after the ring chime sounds, press up to reset the code to section device. And then input the debug code, which is what I just did. And then hold A, press start, and your level select will show up. Basically, what we're going to do here is I'm going to showcase what debug mode is. So let's go into Green Hill Zone. And we have debug mode active. Now, first thing you'll notice is that the HUD is a bit interesting. It's a bit different. First off, the score is not a score. The score is currently showing Sonic's current coordinates in the stage, which is enough. It's a bit hard to see, but there you go. See, when I move, the numbers change around. There you go. They all change around. It's very good. The time doesn't show my time, even though it looks like it. As you can see, it is currently stuck on 14 seconds, and is going up and down and up and down. That is basically telling me how many objects are in the stage at the current screen that I'm looking at. So, the rings don't change. If you grab rings, you grab rings. Anyway, the main bulk of debug mode is being able to put basically anything from that stage anywhere in the stage. Not chunks, but like enemies and rings and monitors and all that. You can add all that stuff to the stage. So, the first thing you want to do if you want to activate debug mode, press the B button. If you press the B button, Sonic will change into a ring. This is good. We want a ring. Ring is good. This is the first sign. When you become a ring, Sonic can fly around the stage. He can go in the ground and whatnot, and it's really great. But the biggest part of this comes with the next bit. So you say, oh, you only have a ring. Well, that's not very interesting, isn't it? No, it gets far more interesting. You press the A button, we are now suddenly a monitor. Press it again, we are now a Crabmate. Press it again, you are now a Buzz Bomber. Press it again, you are now a Chopper. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on it. Basically, if you press A, you go forward in the movement. You can put spikes, you can put platforms, you can put rocks. If you want to go back, hold A and press the C button, and you will go back in the thing. So you can go back if you want. But, say you want to make this start of this stage a lot harder. Say you want to place a whole bunch of motorbugs down. Well, press the C button, and you will get your wish. Until it gets to the point where the game will start lagging, because there's so much stuff on screen. Basically, you are playing around with your debug. You are making the game as hard as possible. It should be noted that while in debug mode, you cannot actually die. I want to get hit. Ah, crap. I think I off-screened it. There it is. Alright. Hit me! Alright. And then... to show that, yes, I have no rings, I'm running into the murder bug, and I cannot die. So yes, you cannot die in debug mode. But that is the basic gist of debug mode. Using debug mode, you can make hellish abominations, which is lots of fun. But the bonus video was not here to play around with debug mode. It was just to show you that yes, debug mode is in this game, and yes, it is hell fun to use. But this video was not about debug mode. This video is rather about the development of Sonic 1. The development of Sonic 1 began when Sega was in desperate need of a new mascot for their company to replace Alex Kidd, so they could go to war with Nintendo. At least that's what people call it anyway. Many ideas at the time were thrown around, including a wolf wearing an American flag shirt, an old warrior, an odd-looking jester, a bulldog, and a chick with a cap and overalls. Eventually, Sega managed to bring everything down to 5 designs, all drawn by Naoto Oshima. I probably pronounced that wrong, and I don't care. These designs consisted of a fat pajama-wearing man, which would eventually become the basis for Dr. Robotnik, a grey rabbit, who could supposedly throw things with his ears. This would later be used in Rystar, another Genesis game. A regular man, seemingly based on Bart Simpson, and a hedgehog, dubbed Mr. Needlemouse. There was also an armadillo design that would eventually become the basis for Mighty the Armadillo. However, no concept art of this design has ever surfaced. The hedgehog character was arguably the best, and was redesigned into a far more familiar form. Several early ideas for Sonic 1 were created by Oshima after the hedgehog design was decided upon. One of these was a human love interest for Sonic called Madonna. It was described by Oshima as a male fantasy. She was scrapped early on, but the reason behind it is split between 2 stories that contradict each other. The first one, as told by Sega of America project manager Madeline Schroeder, stated she was the one responsible for removing Madonna so the game would sell well in the West. The second story, told by Yuji Naka himself, stated that Madonna was removed because it would make the game more like Super Mario Bros. At this same time, a picture was drawn up by Oshima, showing a variety of enemies that Sonic could have fought. These included a 6-fingered hand, a purple creature with a large jaw and yellow gloves, a walking cannon and exclamation mark, a flying hand similar in appearance to Batbrain, a large white ghost, and an early bee-coloured version of Robotnik. Sega thought that Robotnik's design was the best, and the others were scrapped. The purple creature did survive in the game for a little while though. Another idea the team had was the Sonic the Hedgehog band. The plot for the game originally would have involved Sonic saving not only the animal friends, but also his bandmates from Robotnik. However, the idea was scrapped. Of the 4 scrapped band members, one of them would later become Vector the Crocodile and make his first official appearance in Knuckles Chaotix for the 32X. The book Sega Mega Drive, or Sega Genesis, Collected Works, which was released in 2014, contains some never-before-seen concept art of Sonic the Hedgehog when Sonic's band was still in the game and a part of the story. The first bit of art is the title screen. The Sega logo would have had Sonic leaning on it, before the logo slid away, making Sonic fall to the ground. The screen would have then been covered in stripes, brought in by Robotnik and Sonic's bandmates. The Sonic emblem would have then fallen in from the top of the screen. The next bit of art seems to be an idea for a construction-themed boss that Sonic would have fought. The contraption would have held one of the band members and some animal friends. The art shows that Sonic would have dodged a giant wrecking ball, a la the Green Hill Zone boss, as he used 2 platforms to destroy the machine. Once the machine was destroyed, a cutscene would play where the animals and the bandmate are freed. Throughout this whole ordeal, Robotnik is shown watching the entire battle, riding a sled of some sort that has a similar appearance to the one shown in the ending of Sonic CD. The last main bit of artwork detailed the final boss and the ending. The boss was very different, consisting of Robotnik behind a shield, firing turrets at Sonic. It's guessed that the boss would have been defeated by tricking the turrets to shoot at Robotnik instead. Once he's defeated, Robotnik attempts to leave via a small plane. However, Sonic jumps onto said plane and destroys it. As Sonic falls from the sky, the chicken from his band would have saved him and carried him back to Green Hill Zone, where the rest of the band and the animal friends are waiting. When Sonic lands, he would jump towards the screen, just like the final version, before the screen would fade to black. There are also a couple of other pieces of unrelated artwork. The first one seems to be an animation that would play when Sonic would get a special item. At this point, the Chaos Emeralds had not been thought of yet. The second shows a screen that would have appeared when Sonic clears a zone. It shows Sonic jumping through a circle, presumably made of rings. It is possible that this was an after-zone minigame that would have given the player more rings or points. The first time the world got to see Sonic the Hedgehog was at the Tokyo Toy Show in June of 1990, a little over a year before the game released. This build of the game was playable and showcased an extremely early Green Hill Zone, with large mountains and some odd blue structures of some sort in the background. It's noted that this build had 7 layers of parallax scrolling, including trees and giant rocks in the foreground. Sonic himself had a different standing pose, being more open than the final. After running in the zone, Sonic would come up to a large sign that said, "You are welcome, Sega Sonic." At a later point, a blue creature wearing red gloves would have attacked Sonic. This is one of the enemies that appeared in Oshima's drawing featuring Madonna. There it was purple with yellow gloves. At the end of the zone, the text "Debut Approaching" was written in Japanese. Sonic's sprites in the Toy Show demo went through some changes, including the fact that there's less shading on Sonic. This is most noticeable around his spikes. The way his ears were facing were also changed. They are facing forward in the demo, while they face the camera at an angle in the final game. This demo was originally going to be included as a bonus in the Sonic Mega Collection. However, the ROM file has long since been lost to the flow of time, and will most likely be never found. Sonic himself went through some changes during development. This screenshot here from a much later build of the game shows Sonic jumping and doing a fist pump after clearing an act. Ironically, the sprites for this animation are still in the final game. This animation finally saw the light of day in a slightly altered form in Sonic Mania. This screenshot shows an injured Sonic being knocked back far further than in the final game. The same image also shows Sonic having a different palette, consisting of lighter blues. This was changed at the last minute so Sonic wouldn't be hard to see against Green Hill's ocean. The design of the title screen banner generally stayed the same across development. The Toy Show Demo's banner is slightly smaller, which causes the Sonic text to also be smaller, and is completely missing a background. A later pre-release features a basically complete title screen, with one difference. The words "Press Start Button" are shown under the banner. The level select was also slightly different. In a pre-release, most likely the same from the title screen that we saw before, the version used a bluish-grey palette instead of the sepia one used in the final. Some of the acts in this pre-release have an X next to them, most likely marking they were incomplete. Final Zone is also missing from the list, seemingly making it so that Scrap Brain Act 3 most likely had the final boss in it. Interestingly, in the first release of the game, the level order in the level select is different, instead being ordered as Green Hill, Labyrinth, Marble, Starlight, Spring Yard, Scrap Brain, and Final. The title cards were also changed very slightly. In early versions, a small period can be seen after the word act. Many of the pre-release pictures of Sonic 1, including this one, have the HUD display the word ring instead of rings. This same screenshot also shows an early version of debug mode, where you can see numbers indicating Sonic's position at the bottom right of the screen, coincidentally also taking away his life counter. Green Hill Zone's design stayed largely the same across development. However, some things in the stage were changed around. In the pre-release, a large boulder was planted here in Act 1. The boulder would have chased after Sonic. The boulder was removed, but its sprites were used for the Wrecking Ball boss. The boulder can be selected in debug mode, but cannot be placed. The sunflowers were also originally purple, but changed to green in the final. The purple sunflowers can be seen in the ending. Marble Zone went through some rather large changes before the final release. Some very early pictures of Marble Zone can be found, like this one. They show flipping platforms, more segmented ground, chunkier lava, and larger ruins. It is entirely possible that this picture is just a mock-up though. One of the most infamous changes to Sonic 1 during development was the UFOs that were originally in the sky. The Spikes Bagneck from Spring Yard was also originally in this zone, and can be spawned here in debug mode. The design of this area was also changed. The green pillars that crush Sonic are missing here. The area to the right is also changed, and the lava had a much less polished appearance. An early version of the end of Marble Act 1 shows an unused, sideways spiked chandelier. It would have served the same purpose as the moving green blocks, to access a higher part of the level. The sideways chandelier is not removed, and will work exactly as intended if placed with a level editor. The used spiked chandelier is also slightly larger in the pre-release, and although hard to see, flames are in the torch in the final. Spring Yard Zone originally had a completely different look, and went by the name of Sparkling Zone. The foreground stayed the same, however the background showed a city far better than the final, with flashing lights and signs. The pillars littered throughout the stage were also blue rather than purple. This area near the beginning of Act 1 had a spiked ball obstacle spinning around a bumper. It was most likely removed to make the section easier. Interestingly, this screenshot of when Sparkling Zone was changed to Spring Yard Zone had the obstacle still there. Further on in Act 1, this small section was completely changed. The spikes and lamp block were removed. A motor bug is also seen here, when it's only in Green Hill Zone in the final. The roller badneck is coloured purple, while they're blue in the final, and the flashing blue lights were changed to have a more complicated design. All of the pre-release screenshots of Labyrinth Zone show the stage in an extremely early state. This photo shows that it was devoid of objects, water, and even a background. This screenshot shows a more complete Labyrinth Zone. However, the water and objects are still missing. At this stage, the background was made of rocks, and the stage contained smaller crystals than the final game, as well as having ceiling variants which don't exist in the final. The smaller crystals do make an appearance in the 8-bit version's rendition of Labyrinth Zone, however. Starlight Zone had a less blocky appearance, along with using the truss tiles more often, giving the stage an under-construction look. The area at the beginning of Act 1 had 2 pits and a braking platform at some point. Act 2's starting area was much less empty and was very different from the final. This row of springs in Act 3 also had another row facing downwards. Scrapbrain Zone was originally called Clockwork Zone, or Clock Orc Zone, since the title card font didn't contain the letter W for some reason. The zone would have been set entirely indoors, and the background shared the same colours as the foreground. Scrapbrain Zone originally had diagonal conveyor belts, however they were removed and most likely replaced with these spinning platform conveyors. The tunnels that contained the large beams that moved back and forth were originally zigzagged and didn't have beams at all. The special stages went through some level design changes during development. It's time to take a look at some unused sprites that are still found in the game's data, although are unused in the game itself. Sonic himself has a variety of unused sprites in the game data. This first one seems to be Sonic gulping for air. It was most likely used for the air bubbles in Labyrinth and Scrap Zone Act 3. This sprite shows Sonic holding his breath. This was most likely used when the player was close to drowning, so during the 5-second countdown. As seen before in pre-release photos, this sprite shows Sonic giving a jumping fist pump. As already stated, they appeared in a slightly altered form in Sonic Mania, serving their original purpose. Some sort of sliding sprite, similar to what appears in Sonic CD. It is unknown what this would have been used for. Some spin dash style sprites. Sonic could have possibly had a spin dash of some sort in Sonic 1. Some sort of falling sprite set, possibly used for death in a bird's eye view section of some sort. And this death sprite, most likely used if Sonic dies in lava in Marble Zone. There are also a few unused monitors in the game data. The first of which is a Robotnik monitor. While it does nothing here, it would have most likely hurt Sonic, like it does in Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. A goggles power-up. This also does nothing. They became placeable in the iOS release. The power-up was presumably similar to the bubble shield in Sonic 3, making it so that Sonic cannot drown. A static monitor. It does nothing, but they can be placed in debug mode. And an S monitor. While it does nothing here, however, in the 510 prototype for Sonic CD, it gave speed shoes and invincibility, which is presumably what it'd do here as well. In later games in the iOS remake, it grants Sonic his super form. Let's now get into some unused sprites that can be found in the stage data. The first one is the checkered ball seen in the pre-release screenshots. It can be viewed in debug mode, however it cannot be placed. The item's functionality is restored in the iOS remake. These seem to be early Green Hill decorations, however their true palette is no longer in the game. These are some unused Green Hill tiles. These were used in the underground segment in the 8-bit game. It is entirely possible that the 16-bit game also had an underground segment at some point. These tiles would later appear in Sonic Mania's Green Hill Zone. The swinging platforms in Green Hill will instead carry a wrecking ball when set at their highest subtype value. This object is fully functional and will hurt Sonic. Interestingly, this can also be loaded in Marble, Starlight, and Scrap Brain, however the ball graphics won't load. As shown before, the horizontal spike chandelier from Marble Zone. It cannot be placed in debug mode, but is fully functional in all versions of the game. This is an unused sign from Springyard. It can be seen in some early screenshots. This is a Burrowbot from Labyrinth Zone, facing downwards. That's it. These are unused lights from Starlight Zone. These are unused capsule pieces. It's loaded in the data of Robotnik's capsule in Final Zone. These are the back legs on Robotnik's Eggmobile. They are completely impossible to see in-game. This rosebud is selectable during the ending in debug mode. It's actually a bumper, as the ending uses the same debug item list as the special stages. It looks like this because the ending uses different art. These are special zone labels, probably used to mark the special stage Sonic is currently in. A special stage 1-up. Completely functional, can be placed and collected, granting Sonic an extra life. Some W block. No idea what this would have done. The press start button text meant to appear on the title screen. Ironically disabled due to a programming error. The unused badnik called Splats the Bunny. It was cut late in development, as a trading card and figurine were released. He would finally see the light of day in Sonic Mania, appearing as an enemy in Press Garden, appearing in the scrap piles in Flying Battery, and would be able to be placed in debug mode in Green Hill Zone, same as in the iOS remake, where it is completely functional. The sprites for the goggles, which would have gone over Sonic, most likely would have come from the goggles monitor. This is what the goggles most likely would have looked like on Sonic. Robotnik sprites presumably for the ending, showing Robotnik struggling to stay in the air before exploding. Most likely would have only been seen if Sonic attacks Robotnik's Eggmobile in Final Zone. An unused explosion, most likely from an early version of the game. Some grass chunk that has no purpose, and an unused switch frame sprite, never appears in game. This here is an unused sound effect. It is meant to be played when a Buzz Bomber's missile explodes, although the sound IDs were probably changed around at this point. And that is the development of Sonic 1, the 16-bit version at least. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you like. and I'll see you all for the next video, where we will detail the development of the 8-bit version of the game. Ciao!